ॐ नारायणः परो व्यक्तात् अण्डमव्ययसम्भवम् अण्डस्यान्तस्त्विमे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपा च मेदिनी ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः We are in the middle of verse 21, chapter 2. वेदाविनाशिनं नित्यं येनमजमव्ययम् वेदाविनाशिनं नित्यं येनमजमव्ययम् कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कङ्घातयति हन्तिकम् कथं स पुरुषः पार्थ कङ्घातयति हन्तिकम्. We have looked at the meaning of this verse. Know the I, and here the I is not the body, not the mind, not the senses, but the indweller of the body mind sense complex, which is not afflicted by whatever happens to the body, whatever happens to the mind, whatever happens to the senses. There is an entity that I call myself that is not in the least bit affected by the pains, sorrows, fears, anxieties connected to this sanghata, means this assemblage of body, mind, sense complex. It's like, if you are living in a house where there is a little bit of a crack in the wall, so the crack does not transfer to the head. Okay, so it is still just in the wall alone, and you can observe it and you can take measures to take care of it. You can call the architect, you can call the people to get it repaired. All that is fine, no problem at all. But at no time does one think that, oh, there must be something wrong with me because there is a small crack in one of the walls of the house, or a small stain on the wall of the house, or a little bit of mold or mildew or something like that. And so, in the same way, that viveka, that discrimination which one has with regard to things that belong to one, such as the body, such as one's possessions, such as so many things, there is a general sense of discrimination. This belongs to me, but this is not me per se. And if we can, stretch this viveka, stretch this discrimination to what, to the understanding that just like I live in the house that belongs to me, and that I manage, that I look after, that I make sure that nothing bad happens to it, because after all I'm living there, and so it has to be taken care of. So in the same way, I also understand that the body is housing me. The body is also a house. Sometimes it's a dilapidated, leaking house that is of no use to anybody, and including especially the indweller. In fact, the whole society has to upkeep this this house. All the relatives, etc., have to upkeep this house in the form of this body, feed it, change it, put it to sleep, etc., etc. This is how it is sometimes. And sometimes the house in which I live is a huge palace. Everything is fit and everything is well taken care of. There is support, there is room, there is, everything is just so fit. And then that such such houses, meaning the body mind sense complex, this is what we read in CNN. 93-year-old runs a marathon along with 23-year-olds. How does this happen? It does. And but rare. And so this is, this is what this is how this is how the various houses are. But then why was I shortchanged? Why does my house have all these holes and problems? Why am I not? Why is 93 not the new 23 for me, or the other way around? I always get confused when I put it this way. So why is it that for me alone I have this kind of a house to deal with? A dilapidated house, a boring house, and a house full that needs to be taken to the doctor every other day. And the doctors are all waiting, from head to toe. They have put their boards and they are waiting just for you. From the neurologist to the podiatrist, from head to toe, they are waiting for you, all for this body. To upkeep this body, to to help out this body, to maintain this body. But why me? Why I alone have these difficult to maintain conditions? Why do I have this? Why do I have that? And then you ask a person, what is it that you have? Well, there is no name for it. There is no name for it. And then, then what is the problem? Well, it's just a syndrome. Syndrome means they don't know what it is, and they won't know for a long time. And it's not just one symptom, but a series of all kinds of symptoms that are there. And they are presenting themselves and making this house unlivable, or at least it appears to be this way. But then here is where Lord Krishna wants us to be helping ourselves a little bit. What is the difference between the body that is as fit as a fiddle at 95 and a body at 5 years old is already challenged and heaving and has some congenital defects from birth itself? What is the difference? Karma. That's the only answer. No, but karma is just a belief. Yeah, karma is a belief. And it is a non-verifiable belief also. I'll be the first one to tell you that karma is a non-verifiable belief. Nobody has gone and looked at the accounts and then said, oh, you did this in the last life and that's why you have this. Nobody has done. Or you have done this yesterday and this is the result of action. It's a non-verifiable belief. But because it is a belief, we can see extremely clearly that not believing in it is also a belief. That people don't see at all. So if you say, I believe in karma, it's a belief. And if you say, I don't believe in karma, since it is non verifiable, that too is a belief. And so now I'm confused. What do you want me to do? Well, I would say that it is safer to say there is karma, because it is a shock absorber. Otherwise, what happens? One starts blaming oneself, or blaming the circumstances, blaming Ishvara, blaming something or the other. This way, it is much better to say, you know what? I, I don't know how, I don't know why, this is some karma, and since thankfully and blissfully, I'm totally unaware of it. And this is just absolutely wonderful because I don't know what I did and I don't know what is happening, but now I have to deal with this particular house that rattles each time the wind blows. Even the small, gentle breeze blows, it, it rattles. It rattles, yes. You don't get rattled by it is the message of verse number 221, the concluding verse of this particular section of seeing the body mind sense complex as something that you visit, and you are not you are not coming under the spell of all the vikriyas. Vikriya means changes, modifications that this house is undergoing. You are exempt from that modification. A person who knows this is called sannyasi, jnani. Sannyasi is Adi Shankara's word. He assumes that jnana, the self-knowledge, knowledge that I am not affected by the body-mind complex, and sannyasa, renouncing all action, go together for him. And if you recall, last time we had left at a very interesting cliffhanger. Maybe you thought I forgot. I didn't. And I'm not going to ask you what was the cliffhanger. Why? Because I don't want to be disappointed. And so therefore, I'm just going to, I'm just going to sum up the cliffhanger and give the arguments that Adi Shankara gives in support of this particular train of thought, which is going to comprise all the commentary for this very rich verse. So, what was the cliffhanger? Why does this person, who is supposedly, this is of course the Purva Pakshi, the objector speaking, so the objector has an objection. What qualifies this person to say, I am free of action? I don't need to do anything. Why don't you need to do anything? No, but I'm free of action. What do you mean you're free of action? Just now, 5 minutes ago, I just saw you polish off a whole plate of food. Wasn't that action? Yes, that was action. And now, how are you saying I am not the actor? I am not this. I am not that. And even the gnani slash sannyasi, because in Adi Shankara's mind the two are one and the same. So the sannyasi sleeps, the sannyasi eats, the sannyasi goes around, and then everybody glorifies the sannyasi. What's wrong with me? Why should the sannyasi be glorified? And then they say, oh, please don't do anything. Why shouldn't they do anything? And what is wrong with them? And why should, are they sick? No. Are they tired? No. Are they old and infirm? No. Then why should they live on the society? Why should people bring things to them? Starting with food, etc. Why should they bring things to them? Or God has given them hands and legs, yes or no? Yes. So why don't they work for it? Why don't they find a job? Why do they not take up a job? This was the cliffhanger. Why do they have this special privilege of just being with the knowledge and not really being part of the society? What does it mean to be part of the society? It means to contribute. Doesn't matter which society, whether we are talking of the ancient Vedic society or the contemporary society, being part of the community, being part of a family, being part of a society means you are doing something for not just for yourself but for everyone else. There is some way in which your actions, there are many ways in which your actions affect others, and other people's actions of course affect who you are and how you flow. And so there is some kind of an unwritten rule of how to interact, how to contribute, what to contribute, etc. It's all there. This is some kind of a universal matrix of norms called dharma. Every religion has it, every way of life has it. And so here, contribute means to follow dharma is also a contribution. And to that end, there are duties. You wake up in the morning, and then one of the first things that is done is to brush your teeth. It is a form of social service so that you can be around other people. And it is a civic duty, not just because you are worried about your teeth. And of course, and then now that the pandemic is over, a shower is highly recommended, because it's not everything is all not on Zoom. People have started to gather again and do things. And so the shower and all these things, this personal upkeep, this is a way in which you contribute to society. You become part of it. You become a person who is, who is functional. And then how else do you contribute? Through your work. Oh, but I'm getting paid for it. Doesn't matter. You're getting paid for it. That is the exchange. That is the exchange for the contribution. Yes, you do some work, you get paid for it. Maybe the rest of the time you volunteer, you don't get paid for it materially, but you get paid for it in so many other ways, because there is a lot of satisfaction, there's a lot of happiness in contributing in that way also. You get you get some joy out of it. Even the unpaid work of taking care of your family and taking care of the society, if you choose to do it, this is all there. This is all part of the contribution. And then there are daily duties, weekly duties, yearly duties, lifetime duties. Like this, the whole life is interconnected with what one needs to do. So much so that, in addition to the identification, the wrong identification, I may add, with the body mind sense complex, there is a new identification. I am the doer. I am the doer. And as I have talked about this before, this this misidentification with the notion that the I, the Atma, is the doer, leads to guilt. Because, of course, there is fallibility where doing is concerned. Nobody is perfect. And so, while doing, there will be mistakes. And this is Mark Twain once said, which is very nice. Said, please make lots of mistakes. Make sure you make new mistakes each time. So, meaning, learn from the mistakes and keep making new mistakes. And that way you keep learning. So, mistakes will be there. And instead of looking at the mistakes like Mark Twain did from a place of objectivity, usually what happens for the jiva, for the individual, the mistakes are internalized, because there is that shadow, there is an eclipse of subjectivity due to this misidentification. I am the doer. I did this. I got us into trouble. I don't know. I am a good for nothing. I am an idiot. Why do I keep doing this? What's wrong with me? So there is a lot of self flagellation. And so that leads to a sense of internalized guilt. Now, this is contrary to the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. The I is unaffected. And then here I find myself affected by guilt. What went wrong? Well, there was you and the role of the doer became one. And this is not the kind of oneness that the Bhagavad Gita teaches. Bhagavad Gita teaches a transcendental oneness, that you are one with everything that you see, that you are non separate from the world, from the cause of the world, and from yourself. That is the oneness that we are talking about, not this ersatz oneness of identifying with some actions and then suffering, so to speak, as a result of that wrong identification. So this is a big pitfall, considering oneself the doer. And then the logical corollary of considering oneself the doer, what happens is that one considers oneself done in as well. So first, one One is repentant because of guilt, and then one feels targeted by others, and that is called hurt. If I focus on my own doing, then guilt is the result. Feelings of, strongly internalized guilt is the result. And then if I focus on how I have been wronged by other people's doings, hurt is the result. This guilty, this guilt, the guilt and the hurt, they constitute, you don't need any other person. Just the guilt and hurt constitute samsara. This is samsara. What is the meaning of samsara? That some sorrow or the other. That is samsara. That which affects, that which constantly keeps me imprisoned in a cage of my own notions, the bars of which are guilt, hurt, fear, sorrow, anxiety, resentment, anger, avarice. All these are the bars of the cage. And so here, Adi Shankara presents a being who, the enlightened person, not outside of the scope of things. You can be that being. In fact, that is why we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, to see ourselves in the light that the Gita sees us, as a being free of this very pain, sorrow, hurt, and guilt, which are the bars of this cage. To dismantle this cage, in fact, a secret here, it doesn't need any dismantling. it needs it needs looking at it differently. When you look at it differently, you just understand that the so-called bars of the cage were just some streaks of sunlight that you mistook for the bars of the cage. It is correcting a vision of division. This is what the Gita Shastra does. Shastra means teaching. This is what the teaching of the Gita bestows us with the objectivity to see that one is not imprisoned at all, neither by guilt, karta, nor by hurt, bhokta. That one is free of this. And so here, through this series of question answers, Adi Shankara, the one who has written this Bhashya, presents a whole lot of arguments. First, presents a being who is free of guilt, hurt, wrong identifications, wrong associations, and therefore totally joyous and unfettered. And then the verse itself asks the question, for such a person, where are the duties? What duties will they do? and what kind of results of action will they reap? Because the Bhagavad Gita presents the concept of duties as a way of growing up. The duties are a way of growing up. Oh, but I'm already grown up. Yes, physically you are grown up. The duties are a way of growing up spiritually, growing up emotionally. But what is the connection between duty and emotional and spiritual growth? Because duty means that there is a certain kind of a commitment. There is a commitment. That's why the word for duty in Sanskrit, Samskritam, is kartavya. The suffix tavya means it must be done. So tavya has a force of an injunction. Kru plus tavya, kartavya. That which has got to be done. And so that which has got to be done means I have to do it. So there is a commitment. There is not an option. This must be done. This is how the children are raised. You are going to get up at this time. You are going to go to school. It's not an option. You have to go to school. Oh, but I have a tummy ache. Well, you have, and then the parents have their own way of resolving this quote unquote tummy ache. And then they will say, all right, maybe maybe no school today, let's go have ice cream. They're just testing whether it's a real tummy ache or not. And if the child says, yeah, 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 that's a great idea, okay, no tummy ache, off to school with you. And oh, what about the ice cream? No ice cream, because obviously you have not been truthful here. So being truthful, that is a duty. It's presented as a duty. Following the righteous path, duty. And sharing, caring, all these, even though they should come naturally, they don't. First, they are presented as duties. In fact, we shouldn't even blame children. Even adults don't, adults are also loath to follow what is to be followed. Always corners are cut, shortcut, shortcut, shortcut. And sometimes the shortcuts take longer than the original route, especially if you are in an unknown terrain. In places like India, etc., GPS doesn't work at all. There is no, there are no GPS in rural areas with rural roads and all these things. And all these GPS and location, finding out all these locations, they are new. They were not there even 10, 20 years ago. On one such trip with my teacher, we were going to some remote village, and and then when we stopped to ask for directions, the person said, "Oh, why are you going on this main road? It'll take forever." And then go, take a shortcut, Swamiji, take a shortcut. And Swamiji said, all right, we'll take a shortcut. The shortcut took, 5 hours longer than the regular route. And the road was like riding on a camel's back. And after that, the shortcut led to appointments with a chiropractor. And this is exactly sometimes the shortcut is cutting corners and doing all kinds of these kinds of things is not going to lead anybody anywhere. So the duty is for emotional maturity, for a certain kind of an accomplishment in life. There are two kinds of accomplishments in life that the Vedas and the Upanishads talk about. The first kind of accomplishment is relative, the second one is absolute. The first has to be done deliberately, and the second one happens naturally. So the first one is what? Accomplishing being a kind of a person that I am proud of. Growing to be a person that I can look at myself in the eye. An ethical human being. A human being who has some clout in my own eyes. This is not about fame, and this is not about when I Google myself what comes up. That is not what we are talking about. This is just a inner sense of contentment with what I have made of my life. And that is a deliberate growth. A deliberate growth other than the natural growth that happens in terms of growing big, strong, and aging. That's not the growth we are talking about. This growth is initiated by the person for whom the other kind of a growth, growing up and having babies and aging and dying away, is not enough. It's not enough for any human being. Animals, yes. If you leave a cow to be whatever it is to be, its own potential, meaning it doesn't end up in between two slices of bread. It is not killed. It is just allowed to live its life, reproduce, get old, die away. That for itself is a fulfilled life. But will the human being accept this life? Not at all. There is a nagging sense of unfulfillment with regard to if this relative growth is not accomplished. Therefore, this growth has to be initiated. This growth is self initiated. Is this all that life is about? Feeding myself and my family and going out with a few friends? Is this what life is all about? And the pandemic has taught us better. The pandemic has just come in the form of a great teacher, and to teach us that this is not what life is all about. There is something more. There is something more to desire. There is something more to accomplish. And what that more is, if we can just, look at it generally in an abstract way, it is about being okay with oneself. It is about rising to the potential of that which one is capable of. So what does that mean? Just ask a few questions of yourself. Then the meaning will become very clear. What are those questions? Do you like being angry? You ask anybody anywhere. No, absolutely not. Do you love being sad? No. Do you love being greedy? Do you like the greedy you? Not at all. I wish I did not want all the things that the other people have. Do you like the jealous, envious you? Not at all. In fact, I wish to be a well wisher for everybody, not resent what other people have. Do you like being deluded of your priorities and everything? No. Do you like being confused? No. Do you like being a skinflint? No, but I don't, but I am bound because I'm afraid, because I'm insecure. So when one overrides this insecurity, which leads to all these kinds of emotions, which one is not wanting at all to be associated with. How do you override the insecurity? By being exactly that which you're afraid of. You're afraid of giving, you give, and then you grow in spite of yourself. This is not a growth that happens because of you, it happens in spite of you. So if I give, how do I grow? Because you understand that, in giving, you have opened up an abundance, an inner abundance within yourself. You have opened up a grand chest of treasures. You've opened up an abundance inside yourself that you didn't even know existed, that you didn't even know you were capable of. And so, what is this abundance? The abundance is knowing that even after giving, I am still okay. I am not afraid. Nothing happened. Nobody took advantage of me. And even if they were to take advantage of me, I am grown up now. I'm not a child. I can have healthy boundaries. I can refuse to be exploited. I am in charge of myself. That feeling is irreplaceable. And same thing, by engaging in acts of compassion, I discover a compassionate being that I already am. By engaging in acts of giving, I discover myself to be abundant. And by engaging in acts that manage this very resistant and stubborn anger, I discover myself to be a well of tranquility, where anger is an aberration. That is of course, it doesn't anymore become my anger. Anger is because of certain circumstances in the past. I didn't get my way. I was taken for granted, whatever the reason might be. Anger doesn't have to do with the present, even though it is projected onto the present situation. All anger belongs to the past. And then what? Then, when I understand this, the past has been made into a repast. There is no past, the anger is not mine now. There is a depersonalization of the anger because I look at it from the standpoint of the psychological order of the universe. This is fantastic. This is tremendous wisdom. Meaning, given the kind of childhood that I had, the fact that I'm angry right now is not an accident. Meaning, anybody with this kind of a childhood would be triggered in these circumstances, these kinds of circumstances. Where is your anger? No, it is now a universal law. Given this kind of a neglect, given this kind of a background, anger comes. This is a universal law. So what happened to the anger? From the participant, I have washed my hands off of being a participant and identifier with this anger to someone who is observing this anger. Ah, that's interesting. This time it has come with great force. Oh, last time I just wanted to biff one person. Now I want to biff three people. Oh, this is very, very exciting and interesting. It's exciting if you observe it. It is because it gives more reason to understand that this is not you. So, this kind of a self growth is initiated through compulsory duties. Those duties are what makes one grow. Equipped with this growth, the person then becomes qualified for the study of the Gita. Otherwise, it's just words, words, words. Polonius, the minister of the king of Denmark, Hamlet's father, went. The king sent him because Hamlet, he thought, was behaving strangely. So the king sent him and said, "What is this fellow doing? Go shadow him for a few hours, few days, and find out what he's doing and report to me." Polonius went and he found Hamlet reading a book. Your, your Honor, what are you reading? And Hamlet very sagely said, "Words, words, words." And Polonius went and reported back to the king. He's mad, all right, but there is a method to his madness, he reported. And so, like this, if the preparation is not there, the Bhagavad Gita is a heap of words comprising 764 verses. Just words. Veda vinashinam nityam yayenamajam avyayam katham sapurushav partha kanghatayati hantikam blah 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 blah. Everything is blah 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 blah. Doesn't make sense. Oh, but even now it is blah blah because it's in Sanskrit. Yeah, but even when it's explained, it will continue to be blah blah blah. That is the point I'm trying to make. Even if when it is explained, it will continue to be as out of reach as though it was written in, in an ancient language. The preparation is 9/10 of the work. And to the one who is prepared, the answer is very clear, and the understanding that one is free of everything, including the doing. So the duties that one took very seriously were a means to an end, not an end itself. Not an end in themselves, they were a means to an end. And if the duties are a means to an end, then after the end is achieved, what is the use of the duty? What is the use of the duty? Tell me. If the point is, the point of getting on the bus is to go from one, town to another town. So you've reached the next village. Then you don't continue to sit on the bus because now I have made friends with everybody here. Oh, what a shame to get off. And oh, I have been doing things for them and they are relying on my counsel. They are, and then the driver is also fond of me. And if I get off, it's not right. I think I should continue. Nobody does that. When your stop comes, you get off. And then you don't even spend time thinking about the days that you spent riding on this bus, days, hours, whatever it is, because that bus has fulfilled its purpose. That bus ride has fulfilled its purpose, taking you from point A taking to point B. You don't then catch hold of the bus. What do you say to the bus? Bus. Bus in Hindi means enough. Okay, so you say bus to the bus. Enough. You've taken me to here. Thank you. And then you don't even look, where is the bus going? I hope it is not going to have an accident. And then you don't say, did it reach its other destination properly? All this doesn't even occur. Same thing for a jnani. The duties are a bus. They bus the jnani from point A, meaning thinking of oneself as inextricably linked with the body, with the mind, with the senses, with one's duties, etc., with the guilt, with the hurt, to seeing that one is free of all these things. Of course, this journey is accompanied by knowledge. We have to understand that. We have to completely take that into account. This journey is accomplished along with the knowledge that one is free, which is taught in a systematic way along with his pedagogies. And so, therefore, what? So, these duties are no longer applicable for the one who has got off the bus. The one who has got off the bus is no longer concerned with whether the passenger in seat number 52 paid his or her fare or not. Nobody is, thinking of this. And so too, if you extrapolate this example onto life, for the person who has, for whom the duties have fulfilled their purpose, their only purpose in life now is to just revel in the glory of the I. There are no obligatory duties. And then, even though we have understood it in such great detail, there is still a rankling feeling of unfairness. How come some people get to just ride and coast along and other people are left to do this duty? And why is this sannyasi exempt? Why should they be exempt? And why should they not do things? Why should they not, if they are able bodied, they should earn their own living? Why should they live off the society? And so, this is, of course, Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga means a difficult period where dharma is on the decline. So, why should they do this? This is the objection. What do you see so special about this sannyasi, about the person who is, for whom the duties have been, have fulfilled themselves? Then, so then he says, what is so special about this sannyasi? Why does this sannyasi seeing, and this is what the question, this is where we had stopped at the question. Vidushaha kim karma asambhave hetu vishesham pashyan karmani akshipati bhagavan katham sapurushaha iti ityadina. Seeing what particular condition, and with regard to the impossibility of action on the part of the knower of the I, the Vidwan, the enlightened one, has Lord Krishna denied action or duties? So, how come this person gets to be special? Is he or she the teacher's pet, or Lord Krishna's pet student? What is going on here? Well, the answer is Uktaha Eva. I think you have not been listening. And why have you not been listening? Because this was already pointed out and it's clear you haven't understood. What have I not understood? You haven't understood Atmanaha avikriyatvam sarva karma samsara sarva karma sambhava karana visheshaha. So, the reason why the person is exempted from duty, a person of knowledge, is exempted from all duties is because they have taken on, in the knowledge of the I, they have taken on the nature of the I as free of action, free of results of action. They are living this knowledge. And how is the I presented? Free of modifications. So they are living in a body riddled with modifications while knowing full well that they are exempt of the modification. The body is just like a house that where where it is structurally compromised. So even if such a person were to have, God forbid, were to have dementia, it's just like living in a house with a roof blown over. That's all. It's not the person. The person may not be able to any longer express, I have self-knowledge, but then that self-knowledge is there. Because that self-knowledge does not belong to the body, nor the mind, nor the brain, nor the senses. These are just karanas. These are just means of expression. That is all. And so, therefore, we have seen the Adi Shankara says that the immutability of the self not being affected by anything, is the reason why there is the person who knows such a self to be the truth of oneself is exempt from all karma. Is the objector satisfied? Absolutely not. The objector is still jealous. Why are other people, some few people, seen to be free of karma? Why not everybody? Yeah. You said that, yeah, this, the self, the one who, the knower of the self takes on the quote unquote attributes of the self, like this. Why attributes is in quotes? Because the self has no attributes. But we just say, the non, what is that called? No action, etc. Here they are seen as quote unquote attributes. So the Purva Pakshi, the objector says, Satyam Uktaha Natu Karana Visheshaha, Natu Saha Karana Visheshaha. Uktaha. Yes, you said that the knower of the self is indeed the self and is just like the self. But that's not a specific reason to drop all duties. Why? Because anyatvad vidushaha avikriyad atmanah iti. Because you see, the atma you said doesn't move. I'm able to understand that. Even if I'm not able to understand that, I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt and say, yes, atma doesn't move. Atma is not an object. Check. Atma doesn't move. Check. Atma is free from guilt and hurt. Check. Atma is free of actions. Check. But this Vidwan, this person who we are talking about, the enlightened, the so-called enlightened person, your so-called enlightened sannyasi, is not free of actions. Why? Just the other day, the sannyasi took a walk, and then just yesterday, the sannyasi ate a very good meal. And then the sannyasi eats, sleeps, and does everything, teaches. Are those not actions? And so there is a difference. The self is different from the sannyasi because the self doesn't do anything. Here the sannyasi does everything. And so therefore, it is not the same. And he gives a very interesting example. This Purva Pakshi comes with a sense of humor, a funny example, a little tongue-in-cheek humor over here, Purva Paksha humor. And so what does he say? He says, Nahi avikriyam sthanam viditavatah karmana sambhavati iti chet. He says, all right, we have, I have now established that the knower of the self is different from the self which is not acting at all, whereas the knower is seen engaging in action. And then indeed, we cannot say that the one who knows a sthanu means some kind of a stationary object standing there, like a stump of a tree. So the one who knows the stump of a tree suddenly stops performing all action. Can you say that? No. You may know a stump of a tree, but then you still continue to perform action. So similarly, you may know the Atma, which may be stump-like. But then that does not stop you from eating, drinking, waking, arguing, sleeping, all these things. And like right now, you are arguing with me and you are supposed to be a sannyasi. Go figure. So here you are arguing with me, and then here you are telling, oh, all sannyasis are exempt from action. So what is this? So just because you know a stump, that doesn't make you free of all actions. And the Purva Pakshi thought this argument would stump Adi Shankara, but no. So he gives a very involved and a wonderful answer. We'll just look at the contours of it. I won't read the bhashya and everything. I'll just explain what it is. It is a 4-part answer. And the first one he says is that the person who knows oneself as free of all pain is identical to the I. The I is also free of all pain and free of all action. Now, You don't see the Atma running around in circles, chasing its own tail. First of all, it doesn't have a tail, okay? And then, second of all, it doesn't have organs of action, legs, etc., to run. And thirdly, it is free of action. So you don't see the Atma doing that, but you see a Jnani might be doing that. But then the idea here is that, there are two forms of negation. One is called pratishedha, nishedha, means this is negated. Like when you go to the doctor and you're not feeling well and they run a few tests. First, what are the tests for? It's not so much to confirm the disease. Maybe to confirm the disease if the doctor has a hunch, but it is more than anything to ward off other diseases, the possibility of negating other diseases. Oh, so it is not your kidneys. They are fine. They are functioning fine. It's not your liver. The liver enzymes are okay. And it's not your pancreas. You're not diabetic. And it's not compromised. So this is negation. Negation means this possibility, the door is closed on the possibility of something like renal failure. The door is closed. That is not what is happening. Even though there might be some symptoms that may be similar. That has been ruled out. This is one kind of a literal nishedha, pratishedha, means negation. Then the second kind of, yeah, and this under this also comes our famous what is that example? Rope snake. Yeah. So the rope snake, what happens when you identify the rope as the truth of the snake? The snake goes away, correct? Yeah. Where does it go? It slithers into the bush. No, it goes back to that same imagination from where it had ensued. It resolves into that imagination because it did not, it did not, it was not established to be true. This is a negation. This is, called nishedha. However, there is another kind of negation which is called badha. And I don't know how to translate badha into English. Sublation. Yeah, that's a better way of saying. Sublation, a kind of a negation, which here it doesn't exist, but then you continue to see it. Blue sky. Is the sky blue? No, it is badhita. It's a sublated statement. It is not blue at all. It is because of certain atmospheric things. Blue ocean. Blue ocean is also not blue. Sky is also not blue. First of all, if the sky is not blue, then how can the ocean be blue? So sky is first of all not blue. Ocean is also not blue. And there is no such thing called sunrise or for that matter sunset. Oh, what a beautiful sunset. There is no sun that is setting. Sun is stationary. But yet you can go to the beach and look at the sunrise or the sunset depending on what ocean you're on. And then you can say, oh, what a lovely sunset. Sun is not setting. That's why when the sun goes down in the water, it doesn't make a kind of a sound of some hot, hot rod entering the water. It doesn't make any sound. There is no sunset. There is no sunrise. There is no blue sky. And the pencil that is put in a glass of water is not really bent. This is a second kind of negation called badha, a sublation. So the jnani's actionlessness comes under the second kind of negation. The action is a sublated action. Acting, the person doesn't act. Just like while appearing to be blue, the sky is not really blue. While appearing to set, the sun doesn't really set. It is an as though negation. It's a negation, but it's a sublation. So the jnani may be engaged in all kinds of actions: teaching, writing, eating, drinking, going from place to place. All this the jnani is engaged in. But while doing all this, there is an awareness in the heart, in the buddhi, in the mind of the jnani, that I am not an actor. I am just as though acting. The body is acting, the mind is acting, the senses are acting. And the ahankara, the I notion, is involved in the action, but I am free of action. And I am so happy that I am not, afflicted by these actions. Doer, and here, if you keep saying I'm not the doer, there is a kind of a dissociation that happens. And then you think, oh, I'm so disconnected. I came to this knowledge hoping, because I was already disconnected from myself. And then I thought I will just get reconnected, and here I am even further disconnected. That is not the idea. You don't say, I am not the doer. Doer is me. But the I is not the doer is me. Eater is me. Drinker is me. But I am free of all actions. This is another kind of a paradox in Vedanta. Doer is me. Who else is doing it? I'm doing it. I means the I that is as though endowed with a body, mind, sense complex is responsible for the actions, is accountable for these actions. But the I that is indwelling in the body, mind, sense complex is at once free of all actions. At once totally free of all actions. And I live in that I live identified with that I that is free of all actions. So the doing just happens. And since the person has been fed on a diet of dharma, righteousness, then the doing will always not swerve away from dharma, and the person is fulfilled, because the person doesn't take on what doesn't go along their way. So the doership is a superimposition, as it were, upon the I that is free of doership. This the person understands, and so therefore the person is not the doer. Therefore, the person is exempt from the action. This is the first argument the Adi Shankara gives, and then the first answer, the first part of the answer. Then, secondly, he says that the so-called attributes of the self, that which is never born, that which never dies, etc., one is completely identified with. One is completely identified with that knowledge arising from a discrimination, a discriminatory mindset. What is the discriminatory mindset? Asking oneself questions like, how come I'm not sad when I'm asleep? How come I'm not sad when I'm doing an enjoyable activity? So when I'm asleep, if I'm not sad, and even during the waking state, sometimes I'm not sad, that means that this sorrow is an interloper, that is not my nature. If sorrow and fear were my nature, they would always be there, but they are not always there, because that which is one's nature is something that never changes. That is always there. It is not always there. Therefore, there must be something going on. Like a bloodhound, one sniffs one's way into the Bhagavad Gita. Oh, where? Oh, here's something. I think I got it. I have a scent. And then sometimes the scent, leads the dog somewhere in the woods, the false scent. And after a series of false scents, the real scent is picked up. What is the real scent? To be free. To be connected with this I that is totally free of all kind of encumbrances. And just like the excuse me, the canine unit in the police force, they have to have strong handlers, because if supposing they have shot at an offender who is on the run, and all they found is some blood drops because they hit the leg or something, and the fellow stumbled and then escaped, limped away in escape. So all they have is a few drops of blood, and they will just rub a fabric in that blood, a rag, and then just make this fellow, the dog, sniff it. And then it takes off. The handler has to be very, very strong. It takes off in hot pursuit and does not stop until it catches hold of this offender, apprehends the offender, maybe taking a little rest under a tree or behind a building, behind an abandoned building, somewhere, wherever, he thought he was not being pursued. But then this is how the hound is. It doesn't stop until it has reached the destination. A human being is a moksha hound and is hounded by all kinds of things unless this inner freedom is gained. And so now that one is on the scent, and what will happen? We will continue until the so-called destination is reached. Whereas in the case of the example of the hound, the destination is separate from the origin. Here, the seeker is the sought. So the one's destiny is to uncover this glorious self that one already is. No going, no coming, nothing. Oh, so then that means no student, no teacher. Absolutely. No student, no teacher. Then what am I doing here? And what are you doing here? As though student, as though teacher. The last frontier of duality, from where, from where one rises like a phoenix to be the master of oneself and the universe. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Adele, I'm delighted to see you. You look great. You look wonderful. Very nice. Janani, please share the Homa flyer one more time. Thank you. You are doing well, Adele? You are okay?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I've missed you, though.
Oh, I have missed you too, very much.
Yeah.
Wonderful to see you.
You too.
Yeah. And Janani, if you are here, can you please share that? We are having what is it called? No, not in pages. Everybody will not be able to open the PDF, please. Yeah. So we are having a fire ritual on the 14th. And so you can participate on Zoom if you like. The details are there. And then there is also we also have the website is there. It's also on the website arshaviji.org. So now the PDF has been posted. You can go in the chat pod and download it if you have not done so already. There are very interesting planetary movements, and so because of that, we are doing this fire ritual for the 9 planets. All right. All the best. Take care. Good morning. Good night, wherever you are. Om Tat Sat.
Oh, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I got the email and I never opened for this link. And Swaminiji, it is a treasure. And also I am excited to see I will be in Bangalore. So I'm going to register for the July 7th to 9th retreat in Bangalore. This is Meena Chandrasekhar from Washington, D.C.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Welcome. Are you in Bangalore right